In this video, I'll be building a new sharpening jig for plane irons and chisels, and this replaces the design that I came up with a few years ago. The biggest change is that I made it simpler and easier to build. Plans for this project and many others are available on my website. There's a link in the description. Like I already said, there's not a whole lot to this jig, and I really tried to make it as simple as I could. In fact, there are only 4 wooden parts, and you can either make those from plywood or you can use solid wood. And here I've got one of my vintage 2x4s that I'm going to cut a good section out of. Even though this is the best section of the 2x4, it's still pretty rough, so I'm going to pull out my jointer and flatten one face and square off one edge. I want to bring this down to 1.5 inches thick, so I'll pull out my planer to do that. And then I can start cutting out the parts, starting with the back leg. I'll get both sides from this piece that I'm cutting off here. And then I'll cut in part way, twice, to get the part I need for the blade holder. Detailed instructions on how to build this jig will be my next full tutorial on the Maker's Mob, and the plans will be included with that. There's a link in the description to join right now. But also there's a way that you can win a 3-year subscription to the Maker's Mob. We've partnered with Wood Owl to give that away to one lucky winner, as well as a set of 10 Wood Owl bits and a Gaio Kuchu, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, razor saw with 3 extra blades. It's free to enter, and you can do that by clicking the link in the description. The total value of the giveaway is $1,200. The back leg is rounded on the top and bottom, and I'm using a 3/8 inch fender washer to mark that curve, and then I'll just clip off the corners on the table saw. The sides need a bevel cut on the ends, and you can do that several ways. You can cut it by hand or on the bandsaw and just smooth it out with a plane. But I happen to have my precision miter sled, and I'm going to set that to 25 degrees and make the cut on both parts. The parts also need to have some holes drilled, and of course that's all detailed in the plans. There's one metal part that you have to make. It's the clamp bar. And the best material to use is 1/4 inch flat bar. I don't have any, so I'm going to use 2 layers of 1/8 inch thick stock. And here I'm drilling the holes through for the bolts. The threaded rod that goes through the back leg should be glued in. And And I'm going to be using a blob of polyurethane construction adhesive right in the middle of the rod and slide it in and try to get that spread in there as best I can. And then I can clean off the excess that's on the outside. Now the next step in the assembly is to glue the blade holder to the sides, and I'm just using regular wood glue for that and clamping it up until it dries. The glue joint itself is fairly strong, but I'm going to reinforce it with 2 screws on either side. You can also use wooden dowels here. With that done, I can do some sanding to make it friendlier to hold on to and use. And then I can do something that I should have done before I put it together, and that's mark lines on the underside of the blade holder. And this is for several widths of chisels and plane irons, ranging from 1/4 inch right up to 2.5 inches. This part is optional, but I highly recommend getting some finish on there. And that would be especially true if you're using it for waterstones. I let the clear finish dry for a couple hours, and now I can do the final assembly and try it out and see how it works. The setup for this is very much the same as the retail jigs that you can get. Basically, you put the chisel in so that it's sticking out about 1/2 inch and line it up with one of those marks on the bottom of the blade holder. And to adjust the sharpening angle, you just raise or lower the back leg. In this first pass on the coarse side of the stone, I'm working on the primary bevel, which is 25 degrees. I'll get that nicely flattened. And then I'll flip the stone over to the fine side and do a little bit more work on the primary bevel before changing the angle upwards slightly to create a secondary bevel. Last thing I like to do is strop the edge, and then it's ready for cutting. And you can see here just how well it cuts and how nice and straight and even the grind is on the chisel. Like I said before, if you want plans for this, they're available on my website. There's a link in the description that will take you right there.